I'm back. Out front, Ken jumped across a narrow ditch and headed for the house's double entrance doors, which were still closed. He surveyed the surrounding area and saw no one trying to escape. As twilight descended, Bordeaux Ridge looked less like a tract under development than like a bombed out neighborhood. Shadows and dust created the illusion of rubble. In the laundry room, Till Porter turned, intending to step into the hall, and on his right, in the group of yellow cabinets, the 2 foot wide, 6 foot high door of a broom closet flew open, and this thing came at him as if it were a jack in the box. Jesus. For a split second, he was sure it must be a kid in a rubber fright mask. He could not see clearly in the backsplash of the flashlight, which was pointed away from the attacker. But then he knew it was real because those eyes, like circles of smoky lamplight, were not just plastic or glass. No way. He fired the revolver, but it was aimed ahead into the hall, and the slug plowed harmlessly into the wall out there. So he tried to turn, but the thing was all over him, hissing like a snake. He fired again, into the floor this time. The sound was deafening in that enclosed space. Then he was driven backward against the sink, and the gun was torn out of his hand. He also lost the flashlight, which spun off into the... Looks like the beast got another victim. Into the corner. He threw a punch, but before his fist was halfway through its arc, he felt a terrible pain in his belly, as if several stilettos had been thrust into him all at once, and he knew instantly what was happening to him. He screamed, and in the gloom, the misshapen face of the jack in the box loomed over him, its eyes radiantly yellow. Until screamed again, flailed, and more stilettos sank through the soft tissue of his throat. Yes. R.I.P. 2. Ken Dimes was 4 steps from the front doors when he heard Till scream. I cried surprise, fear, pain. I cried surprise, fear, pain. Shit. There were double doors, stained oak. The one on the right was secured to the seal and header by sliding bolts, while the one on the left was the active door and unlocked. Ken rushed inside, caution briefly forgotten, then halted in the gloomy foyer. Already, the screaming had stopped. He switched on his flashlight. Empty living room to the right, empty den to the left, a staircase leading up to the second floor. No one anywhere in sight. Silence, perfect silence, as in a vacuum. For a moment, Ken hesitated to call out to Till, for fear he would be revealing his position to the killer. Then he realized that the flashlight, without which he could not proceed, was enough to give him away. It did not matter if it made noise. Till! The name echoed through the vacant rooms. Till, where are you? No reply. Till must be dead. Jesus. He would respond if he was alive, or he might just be injured or unconscious, wounded and dying. In that case, perhaps it would be best to go back to the patrol car and call for an ambulance. No. If his partner was in desperate shape, Ken had to find him fast and administer first aid. Till might die in the time it took to call an ambulance. Delaying that long was too great a risk. Besides, the killer had to be dealt with. Only the vaguest smoky red light penetrated the windows now, for the day was being swallowed by the night. Ken had to rely entirely on the flashlight, which was not ideal because each time the beam moved, shadows leaped and scooped, creating illusory assailants. Those false attackers might distract him from real danger. Leaving the front door wide open, he crept along the narrow hall that led to the back of the house. He stayed close to the wall, The sole of one of his shoes squeaked with nearly every step he took. He held the gun out. He held the gun out in front of him, not aimed at the floor or ceiling, because for the moment, at least he didn't give a damn about safe weapons procedure. On the right, a door stood open, a closet empty. The stink of his own perspiration grew greater than the lime and wood stain odors of the house. He came to a powder room on his left. A quick sweep of the light revealed nothing out of the ordinary, though his own fine face, reflected in the mirror, startled him. The rear of the house, family room, breakfast area, kitchen, was directly ahead, and on his left was another door, standing open. And the beam of the flashlight, which suddenly began to quiver violently in his hand, Ken saw Teal's body on the floor of a laundry room, and so much blood that there could be no doubt he was dead. Beneath the waves of fear that washed across the surface of his mind, there were undercurrents of grief, rage, hatred, and a fierce desire for vengeance. Behind Ken, something thumped. He cried out and turned to face the threat, but the hall to the right and the breakfast area to the left were both deserted. The sound had come from the front of the house. Even as the echo of it died away, he knew what he'd heard, the front door being closed. Another sound broke the stillness, not as loud as the first, but more unnerving. The clack of the door's deadbolt being engaged. Had the killer departed and locked the door from the outside with a key? But where would he get a key? Off the foreman that he had murdered? And why would he pause to walk up? More likely, he had locked the door from inside, not merely to delay Ken's escape, but to let him know the hunt was still underway. Ken considered dousing the flashlight because it pinpointed him for the enemy. But now the twilight glow at the windows was purple gray and did not reach into the house at all. Without the flashlight, he would be blind. How the hell was the killer finding his way in this steadily deepening darkness? Was it possible that a Pissy Pete junkie's night vision improved when he was high, just as his strength increased to that of 10 men as a side effect of the angel dust? The house was quiet. He stood with his back to the hallway wall. He could smell Teal's blood, a vaguely metallic odor. Click, click, click. Ken stiffened and listened intently, but he heard nothing more after those quick noises. They had sounded like swift footsteps crossing the concrete floor, taken by someone wearing boots with hard leather heels or shoes with cleats. The noises had begun and ended so abruptly that he had not been able to tell where they were coming from. Then he heard them again. Click, click, click. 4 click, 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 click. 4 steps this time, and they were in the foyer, moving in this direction, toward the hall in which he stood. He immediately pushed away from the wall, turning to face the adversary, dropping into a crouch and thrusting both the flashlight and the revolver toward where he had heard the steps. But the hallway was deserted. Breathing through his open mouth to reduce the noise of his own rapid respiration, which he feared would mask the movements of the enemy, Ken eased along the hall into the foyer. Nothing. The front door was closed, all right, but the den and the living room and the staircase and the gallery above were deserted. Click, 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 click. The noises arose from an entirely different direction now, from the back of the house in the breakfast area. The killer had fled silently out of the foyer, across the living room and dining room, into the kitchen, into the breakfast area, circling through the house, coming around behind Ken. Now the bastard was entering the hall that Ken had just left, and though the guy had been silent while flitting through the other rooms, he was making those noises again. Obviously not because he had to make them, not because his shoes clicked with every step the way Ken's shoes squeaked, but because he wanted to make the noises again, wanted to taunt Ken, wanted to say, "Hey, I'm behind you now, and here I come. Ready or not, here I come." Click, click, click. Ken Dimes was no coward. He was a good cop who had never walked away from trouble. He had received 2 citations for bravery in only 7 years on the force. But this faceless, insanely violent son of a bitch, scurrying through the house in total darkness, silent when he wanted to be, and making taunting sounds when it suited him, he baffled and scared Ken. And although Ken was as courageous as any cop, he was no fool, and only a fool would walk boldly into a situation that he did not understand. Instead of returning to the hall and confronting the killer, he went to the front door and reached for the lever action brass handle, intending to get the hell out. That's smart. Then he noticed the door hadn't merely been closed and deadbolted. A length of scrap wire had been wound around the handle on the fixed door, and around that on the active door, linking them, fastening them together. He would have to unwind the wire before he could get out, which might take half a minute. Click, click, click. He fired once toward the hallway without even looking and ran in the opposite direction. Crossing the empty living room, he heard the killer behind him, clicking, coming fast in the darkness. Yet when Ken reached the dining room and was almost to the doorway that led into the kitchen, intending to make a break for the family room and the patio door by which Till had entered, he heard the clicking coming from in front of him. He was sure the killer had pursued him into the living room. By now the guy had gone back into the lightless hallway and was coming at him from the other direction, making a crazy game of this. From the sounds of the bastard was making, he seemed just about to enter the breakfast area, which would put only the width of the kitchen between him and Ken. So Ken decided to make a stand right there, decided to blow away this cycle the moment the guy appeared in the beam of the light. Then the killer shrieked, clicking along the hallway, still out of sight but coming toward Ken. The attacker let out a shrill and human cry that was the essence of a primal rage and hatred. The strangest sound that Ken had ever heard. Not the sound a man would make, not even a lunatic. He gave up all thought of confrontation, pitched his flashlight into the kitchen to create a diversion, turned away from the approaching enemy, and fled again, though not back into the living room, not toward any part of the house in which this game of cat and mouse could be extended, but straight across the dining room toward a window that glimmered vaguely with the last dim glow of twilight. He tucked his head down, brought his arms up against his chest, and turned sideways as he slammed into the glass. The window exploded, and he fell out into the rear yard, rolling through construction debris. Splintery scraps of 2x4s and chunks of concrete poked painfully into his legs and ribs. He scrambled into his feet, spun toward the house, and emptied his revolver at the broken window in case the killer was in pursuit of him. In the settling night, he saw no sign of the enemy. Figuring he had not scored a hit, he wasted no time cursing his luck. He sprinted around the house, along the side of it, and out to the street. He had to get to the patrol car, where there was a radio and a pump-action riot gun. Yes. Smart. 3. On Wednesday and Thursday, the 2nd and 3rd of June, Travis and Nora Einstein searched diligently for a way to improve human canine communications. And in the process, man and dog had almost begun to chew up furniture in frustration. However, Nora proved to have enough patience and confidence for all of them. When the breakthrough came near sunset on Friday evening, the 4th of June, she was less surprised than either Travis or Einstein. They had purchased 40 magazines, everything from Time and Life to McCall's and Redbook, and 50 books of art and photography, and had brought them to the living room of Travis's rental house, where there was space to spread everything out on the floor. They had put pillows on the floor as well so they could work at the dog's level and be comfortable. Einstein had watched their preparations with interest. Sitting on the floor with her back against the vinyl sofa, Nora took the retriever's head in both hands and with her face close to his, their noses almost touching. She said, "Okay, now you listen to me, Einstein. Now you listen to me, Einstein. We want to know all sorts of things about you. Where you came from. Why you're smarter than an ordinary dog. What you were afraid of in the woods that day Travis found you. Why you sometimes stare out the window at night as if you're frightened of something. Lots more. But you can't talk, can you? No. And so far as we know, you can't read. And if you can read, and even if you can read, you can't write. So we've got to do this with pictures, I think." From where he sat near Nora, Travis could see that the dog's eyes never wavered from hers as she spoke. Einstein was rigid. His tail hung down, motionless. He not only seemed to understand what she was telling him, but he appeared to be electrified by the experiment. How much does the mutt really perceive? Travis wondered. And how many of his reactions am I imagining because of the pure wishful thinking? People have a natural tendency to anthropomorphize anthropomorphize. Did I say it right? Wow. Anthropomorphize. People have a natural tendency to anthropomorphize their pets, to ascribe human perceptions and intentions to the animals where none exist. In Einstein's case, where there really was an exceptional intelligence at work, the temptation to see profound meaning in every meaningless doggy twitch was even greater than usual. We're going to study all these pictures, looking for things that interest you, for things that will help us understand where you came from and how you got to be where you are. Every time you see something that will help us put the puzzle together, you've got somehow to bring it to our attention. Bark at it, or put a paw on it, or wag your tail. This is nuts, Travis said. Do you understand me, Einstein? Nora asked. The retriever issued a soft woof. This will never work, Travis said. Yes, it will, Nora insisted. He can't talk, can't write, but he can show us things. If he points out a dozen pictures, we might not immediately understand what meaning they have for him, how they refer to his origins, but in time we'll find a way to relate them to one another and to him, and we'll know what he's trying to tell us. The dog, his head still trapped firmly in Nora's hands, rolled his eyes toward Travis and woofed again. We ready? Nora asked Einstein. His gaze flicked back to her, and he wagged his tail. All right, she said, letting go of his head. Let's start. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, for hours at a time, they leafed through scores of publications, showing Einstein pictures of all kinds of things: people, trees, flowers, dogs, other animals, machines, city streets, country lanes, cars, ships, planes, food advertisements for 1,000 products, hoping he would see something that would excite him. The problem was that he saw many things that excited him too. That excited him. Too many. He barked at, pawed at, and woofed at, put his nose to, or wagged his tail at perhaps a hundred out of the thousands of pictures, and his choices were of such variety that Travis could see no pattern to them, no way to link them and divine meaning from their association to one another. Einstein was fascinated by an automobile ad in which the car, being compared to a powerful tiger, was shown in an iron cage. Whether it was the car or the tiger that seized his interest was not clear. He also responded to several computer advertisements, Apple and Purina dog chow ads, an ad for a portable stereo cassette player, and pictures of books, butterflies, a parrot, a forlorn man in a prison cell, 4 young people playing with a striped beach ball, Mickey Mouse, a violin, a man on an exercise treadmill, and many other things. He was tantalized by a photograph of a golden retriever like himself, and was downright excited by a picture of a cocker spaniel. But curiously, he showed little or no interest in other breed of dogs. His strongest and most puzzling response was to a photo in a magazine article about an upcoming movie from 20th Century Fox. The film's story involved the supernatural ghost poltergeist whoa poltergeists, demons rising from hell, and the photo that agitated him was of a slab-jawed, wickedly fanged, lantern-eyed demon apparition. The creature was no more hideous than others in the film, less hideous than several of them. Yet Einstein was affected by only that one demon. The retriever barked at the photograph. He scurried behind the sofa and peeked around the end of it as if he thought the creature in the picture might rise off the page and come after him. He barked again, whined, and had to be coaxed back to the magazine. Upon seeing the demon a second time, Einstein growled menacingly. Frantically, he pawed at the magazine, turning its pages until somewhat tattered, it was completely closed. So the demon that Travis is barking at is what is there? The unknown beast. Travis is trying to tell him. Einstein is barking at the unknown beast. Einstein is trying to tell Nora and Travis something, but Nora and Travis do not understand yet. But I feel like they will soon. What's so special about that picture? Nora asked the dog. Einstein just stared at her and shivered slightly. Patiently, Nora reopened the magazine to the same page. Einstein closed it again. Nora opened it. Einstein closed it a third time, snatched it up in his jaws, and carried it out of the room. Travis and Nora followed the retriever into the kitchen, where they watched him go straight to the trash can. The can was one of those with the foot pedal that opened a hinged lid. Einstein put a paw on the pedal, washed the lid open, dropped the magazine to the can, and released the pedal. What's that all about? Nora wondered. I guess that's one movie he definitely doesn't want to see. Our own four-footed fury critic. That incident occurred Thursday afternoon. By early Friday evening, Travis's frustration and that of the dog were nearing critical mass. Sometimes Einstein exhibited uncanny intelligence, but sometimes he behaved like an ordinary dog. And these oscillations between canine genius and dopey mutt were enervating for anyone trying to understand how he could be so bright. Travis began to think that the best way to deal with the retriever was to just accept him for what he was. Be prepared for his amazing feats now and then, but don't expect him to deliver all the time. Most likely, the mystery of Einstein's unusual intelligence would never be solved. However, Nora remained patient. She frequently reminded them that Rome wasn't built in a day and that any worthwhile achievement required determination, persistence, tenacity, and time. Nora's not wrong. Nora's not wrong. When she launched into these lectures about steadfastness and endurance, Travis sighed wearily and Einstein yawned. Nora was unperturbed. After they had examined the pictures in all the books and magazines, she collected those to which Einstein had responded, spread them out across the floor, and encouraged them to make connections between one image and another. All of these are pictures of things that played different roles in his past, Nora said. I don't think we can be certain of that, Travis said. Well, that's all we've asked them to do, she said. We've asked him to indicate pictures that might tell us something about where he's come from. But does he understand the game? Yes, she said with conviction. The dog woofed. Nora lifted Einstein's paws and put it on a photograph of the violin. Okay, Pooch. You remember a violin from somewhere and it was important to you somehow? Okay, Pooch. You remember a violin from somewhere and it was important to you somehow. Maybe he performed at Carnegie Hall, Travis said. Shut up. To the dog, Nora said. All right. Shut up. To the dog, Nora said. All right. Now, is the violin related to any of these other pictures? Is there a link to another image that would help us understand what the violin means to you? Einstein stared at her intently for a moment, as if pondering her question. Then he crossed the room, walking carefully in the narrow aisles between the rows of photographs, his gaze flickering left and right, until he found the ad for the Sony portable stereo cassette player. He put one paw on it and looked back at Nora. There's an obvious connection, Travis said. The violin makes music, and the cassette deck reproduces music. That's an impressive feat of mental association for a dog. But does it really mean anything else? Anything about his past? Oh, I'm sure it does, Nora said. To Einstein, she said, did someone in your past play the violin? The dog stared at her. She said, did your previous master have a cassette player like that one? The dog stared at her. She said, maybe the violinist in your past used to record his own music on a cassette system? The dog blinked and whined. All right, she said. Is there another picture here that you can associate with the violin and the tape deck? Einstein stared down at the Sony ad for a moment, as if thinking, then walked into another aisle between two more pictures. Then walked into another aisle between two more rows of pictures. This time, stopping at a magazine open to a Blue Cross advertisement that showed a doctor in a white coat standing at the bedside of a new mother who was holding her baby. Doctor and mother were all smiles. Stupid magazine to a Blue Cross advertisement that showed a doctor in a white coat standing at the bedside of a new mother who was holding her baby. The doctor and mother were all smiles, and the baby looked as serene and innocent as the Christ child. Crawling near to the dog on her hands and knees, Nora said, "Does that picture remind you of the family that owned you?" The dog stared at her. Was there a mother, father, and new baby in the family you used to live with? The dog stared at her, still sitting on the floor with his back against the sofa. Travis said, "Gee, maybe we've got a real case of reincarnation on our hands." All right, I'm gonna leave it right there. That's the recap for the day. So that's the reading for the day. So a quick recap of what I just read. Till was another victim of the unknown beast. On his search to find out what was in the uncompleted house, he was unlucky because on his search on finding what was going on in the house and who was making the noises, he got unlucky because he was another victim of the unknown beast. The unknown beast got to him and took him out. When Ken got to the house, he started hearing noises, so he called out to Ken. He called out to Till to see if he was okay, but then Till did not respond back. So Ken had went to search for his partner, and found out that, and he saw that when he got to his partner Till, he saw that Till had been taken out, ribs taken out, and he was dead. So Ken now wanted vengeance, but he couldn't get it because he couldn't even see the beast himself. So Ken tried to run away because he's not stupid. That's where I left off. I also read a little bit about Nora and Travis today. So there's Travis and Einstein included. They're still continuing the search to find out where Einstein is from. They bought different magazines, advertisements, picture books. Never mind. Let me recalibrate that. They brought different magazines of they bought magazines of different subjects and topics. That's like the same thing. To simplify it, they brought magazines of different variety. They brought magazines of different variety to help figure out where Einstein is from, to help them figure out where Einstein is from, and to see if Einstein can help them understand. And Einstein is giving them clues. When Nora showed Einstein a picture of a demon in a movie, in a movie advertisement coming up, Travis started barking violently in this, which meant something because that demon might be the unknown beast that Einstein is scared of. So that's why he was barking loudly. But yeah, the search is still going on, and that's the recap. That's what I read. Oh my gosh, 5 minutes of pure yapping. That's crazy.